We got tornadoes possibly coming.
No way.
Yeah, it's
I
snowing
heard
here like
something about that. You guys had some funky weather going on.
yeah, it was like snowing here last week, and then it was nice enough where you could go golfing over the weekend, and then now raining. I'd
Global
say
warming.
Missouri weather, baby.
Global warming. All the pro race and World Series of Pro Mod added to
Yeah, yeah.
it.
So you set a world record, huh?
So we got this new car done with the intention of running it at TX2K, but that didn't work out. So we started testing it for our race, the reunion presented by TurboSmart in 3 weeks. And so I had went there. I wanted to go 620s last pass of the night because we were struggling fighting, new car things. I'm walking back with a slip, and I'm kind of like with my head down. And I show it to somebody, and they're like, I think that's the fastest or the quickest import pass on a 275 tire ever. I was like, is it? It's like, okay, cool. We'll try this. we'll roll with this. And it just made a little bit of noise, but
yeah, it did.
That's what motivates people, gets people talking, and just got some people fired up. It got me fired up. So
yeah.
Well, at this point now, you guys hold a bunch of records because you have like most of the NHRA records there too now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it's a weird deal. I try not to like claim too much of the records that are set at the track because we're just giving people a place to do it. So I feel like I don't want to discredit anyone's hard work, right? Because we have the smallest part of it, but it is really cool to see that so many people come to Bradenton to set records, and so many people actually do.
Yeah, still part of it too, man. I mean, that's a huge part of it.
No, for sure. Like it takes. Don't get me wrong. Like surface is badass. Wade Rich is one of the greatest to ever prep a track.
Yeah,
and all of our staff is like just all badasses. But aside from that, I think giving people the platform to do it, right? Because it takes more than just that. Like having people want to go to your track to do it, and telling them and like encouraging that kind of like just shenanigans. Like come and just send it. Like this is the place. Like what you want to class race, you want to test, you want a no time race, like whatever you want to do, we want you to do it here.
You got the stage for them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like difference of playing.
Creating that is the cool part. Yeah,
it is.
No, that's awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and get to business, guys. The racing business. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Drag Illustrated's The Racing Business with me, Jason Dukes. Look, this is a show we've all been waiting for. Victor Alvarez from Bradenton Motorsports Park is going to be here with us, joining us here in a few seconds. So I can't wait to have this conversation. I mean, I've watched Vic from both afar and up close, and just a huge admirer of his work and all that he's created. So I can't wait to bring him on here. First, want to do some plugs. As always, we're brought to you by Drag Illustrated, obviously. Our executive producer, JT Murder Tundra Hudson. Also, Racers Club. Make sure that you look good and get your stuff. Go to racers.club. Captain's Chair Coaching. Duh. I need to get paid too, right? Captain's Chair Coaching. And then just common sense. I'm just going to say some words and then take them as you want to. Get a physical, mammogram, colonoscopy, endoscopy, and I forgot how it goes. Blood pressure test, diabetes test, PSA. Make sure you take care of yourself because there's no racing business if we're all dead, right? So on that note, let's go ahead and bring on our guests for this weekend. Victor Alvarez from Bradenton Motorsports Park. Welcome to the racing business, Vic. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be here. I like the business end of this stuff a lot, and it's cool to talk about. A lot of people think that this is drag racing is everyone's hobby for the most part, but for some of us, it's a business. It's how we make a living. And yeah, while we're very passionate about it, it's good to talk about the business.
Yeah. Well, also everyone wants to. I think everyone also wants to hear you specifically talk about the business because of just all the things that you guys have going on, and to get a little bit of the magic sauce and seeing if they can replicate some of this stuff for themselves. So let's just start out with everything happening, or I mean, I get that we have some time limits here, but either what's your version of like what all is happening at Bradenton this past winter, or what's happening this year? Like just give us a snapshot of like right now in the life of Bradenton Motorsports Park and Victor Alvarez.
Well, so now, believe it or not, we're kind of going into our slow season. In Florida, it'll be hot and rainy in the next, pretty much after April. Everything slows down. It's either miserably hot that you don't want to be at the racetrack, or it's raining. So both of those things are difficult to deal with.
I'm in Fort Lauderdale, so I know. Anytime
Yeah,
people are like, "Oh, we got an event at Homestead," I'm like,
yeah.
"No, no."
Yeah. So you get it. But yeah, our busy season is October to March. And it's packed. It's action packed. We have to take advantage of the conditions when we have them. We start our season with a FL2K, which is still our biggest event of the year. Huge streetcar event. The event that kind of got me like into this business and into the position that I'm in to own Bradenton Motorsports Park and open those doors for me. We start with that. Then we have the Snowbirds presented by Motion Raceworks, US Street Nationals, World Series of Pro Mod. This year we had the Pro Superstar Shootout. Bunch of stuff in between, no time stuff, a lot of bracket stuff. We have a great bracket program here. You name it, a little bit of everything. We have street nights, which can be huge. You name it, we have it going on. And, also in that time, there's not a lot of places to race or to test your car. So we're probably one of the busiest tracks as far as testing goes. There'll be times from November to March that we're open 7 days a week almost. So it's pretty intense. We've got a lot going on and a badass crew working really hard to make it happen and make me look good.
Yeah, actually, speaking of which, you do have a badass crew. Do you want to go ahead and give some plugs to some of the guys on your crew?
Yeah, no, for sure. Wade Rich is the man, the legend behind the track prep, in my opinion, one of the greatest to ever do it. He's great. Lori in the tower, Rebecca at the gate, Chris, management, Dave, also in management, Sharon. These people are behind the scenes working nonstop to just put all the pieces together. When you do a big event, I think you got a glimpse of it with World Series and seeing just all the things that go into these events. It's a lot. There are details that even myself, I forget, and that most of the racers don't, recognize. And if they did, they'd probably appreciate it even more than they already do. But there's a lot of details, a lot of moving pieces. And that is what I think separates events like World Series of Pro Mod from other events and separates like FL2K is that we try to promote from a business standpoint and a racer standpoint, and we try to accommodate what we would want to see. We want to see big payouts. We want to see, close racing. And just like the celebrations, like people don't realize it, but the celebration that happens at World Series of Pro Mod when you win that race, that's not the normal celebration you see in drag racing. There's a lot of planning that goes into that, but that's also what makes that race so special. You want to win. Everybody thinks it's the 100 grand. It's not. Like, you want to win the World Series of Pro Mod because you want to say, I won the World Series of Pro Mod. And we want you to, that's what we want. We want the stage to be so big that you just want nothing more than to win and claim that, claim that event, claim that you won that.
Yeah. So I on that point, I have some questions for you. And a lot of people don't know my background as I managed Gateway, God, 20 years ago. I'm old. Sorry.
You're revealing your age now, man.
This is gonna happen. I'm gonna start crying. Yeah. And sort of same thing. Definitely a different season, but when it was our season, we were churning.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, remember the customers when you're planning all parts of the event, including the celebration. Like how do you keep that constant, with the amount of events that you guys have? Like, how do you keep that excitement and that churn going to make sure that you're always remembering the customer experience, whether it be spectator or racer, and always having it be at a high level when you do so much?
Honestly, I don't even really know. It goes back to the crew, that crew of people that I mentioned. We really, like, everyone on our team is so passionate about the end result and the feeling that you get when you enter the gate of Bradenton and the feeling you get when you win at Bradenton and when you compete at Bradenton. It's checks and balances. Like, I might forget something and someone might pick it up or remind me. And we're always trying to, do something different, do something new, keep it exciting, and just keep pushing it, because we're also passionate about it. Myself, I grew up around racing, not so much at the track, but just around cars, some street racing stuff. And then I started going to events, and I guess I see it from I see it from multiple angles. I see it as a racer, a sponsor because I've sponsored several events, a shop owner that sponsors events and attends events and sees the impact that events can have on our businesses as far as selling parts and building cars. I see it from all of those different points of view, and I think that's kind of been the edge that I had when I came into this business. Because I mean, I bought Bradenton Motorsports Park now almost 6 years ago. I was 28 years old, and I did my first event in 2013 with very little knowledge of how to do events, and just excited to do it. And at that point, I was really just a shop owner and a racer who wanted a place to race. And now looking back and seeing the impact it's had on all of our sponsors, especially locally, and like the buzz when FL2K comes around and seeing what we've created, it's absolutely amazing.
Gotcha. And we'll go back and sort of track it all the way up to today. But can you tell us about the other businesses that you have, and then any snapshot of right now personal life stuff?
Yeah. So the main other business I have is I'm co-owner of Induction Performance. We started in 2011, myself and my partner, and he tunes cars. At the time, I was building cars, and it would just always end up that we primarily do Toyota Supras. That's like been our specialty, and it would always end up we would work on the cars, and people would choose him to tune them. So it just was a natural fit. Um, Myself, my partner Alpha, and one of our guys that works with us, Denny, we've all been doing this together since 2011, and we've just kind of grown on that. And now we have 2 in-house tuners, we have 4 sales guys, we have a very busy website, a very, very, very busy shop. And we specialize in Supras and all things 2JZ, and that has opened a lot of doors for me in this world. He said in 2013, I was a huge fan of TX2K, which is the original, streetcar event and probably the largest streetcar gathering in the country. Started sponsoring that with my dad's business in 2007. My dad had a Supra fan, and I just wanted to go to these events and race. And since 2007, I never really missed one. And then started to dawn on me that when we're going to this event in Texas, like, man, there's so many of us from Florida headed to Texas. Like, you're driving on the highway and you're passing trailers and trailers and trailers. And that event started as a Supra gathering. And it just got really big. And I just, started to have this thought like, man, if we did something like this in Florida, it would be really good. And I met Alan Shervitz, the old owner of Bradenton Motorsports Park, and I begged and pleaded with him for a date. He gave us one. We did it. It was a great event, single day. We had about 2,000 people in there. We promoted for 2 months. Literally just threw together our first event. And then after that, I remember being nervous, like, man, I hope this guy will let us do this again. And he had a lot of enthusiasm about the event, and he said, man, we have to do it again. And we've been that first weekend of October since.
Wow. So I have something that just came into my head. Like, so if we talk to streetcar people and say Victor Alvarez, we get an answer. And if we talk to pro mod people and say Victor Alvarez, we probably get the same answer. And if we go to an NHRA race and say Victor Alvarez, we'll probably get the same answer. But there are very few people in motorsports, and especially in the world of drag racing, that has like that wide breadth of that can almost fit in at all the places. Like, even on this show, right? Like, we'll have experts who are streetcar experts, or experts that are pro mod experts. Tell us a little bit about, like, either what you learned or like how you're able to do that, and just wisdom.
I can't give out all the secrets. No. Honestly, I think my competitive edge, that I'm a competitive person. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it right? Like, that's the drag racer in me. I think that mixed in with the passion I have for just motorsports. I remember my first Snowbirds event, we had 15 pro mods showed up, and I was heartbroken. I was like, man, these cars are so cool, such a good time of year, such a good event. Why isn't this place packed with pro mods? And I mean, I legitimately lost sleep over it, and I was determined that I was going to turn that race around. And now, it's 50 pro mods fighting to sign up. It sells out. They're racing for 50 grand instead of 10 grand, or I think it might have even been 5. And I listened to the racers. I started calling people. I started calling sponsors, previous sponsors, people that, I mean, I literally spent my time on the internet watching videos. Who goes to these races? What companies are selling parts to these these guys that are racing in these teams? Who's tuning these cars? I didn't know anything about Pro Mod in 2018. I didn't know a thing about it. And I just dove right in, and I legitimately enjoyed it. So that was motivation enough. And I knew that if I felt like as soon as I saw those cars going down the track, I felt like if you're going to grow a race like this, these are the headliners, obviously. And I felt like it was just, I mean, in my opinion, the coolest class of cars with, that are door cars, like real, somewhat real cars that are relatable, and cars that are just so fast and loud and close racing and everything about it. It checked all the boxes. And I pushed it and I did that. And I've done the same thing with several, platforms or genres of racing. I love racing. I'm a huge fan of it. And if I see something that I find cool, I'm like, all right, I know people are going to like this. Let's dive in. Let's do the research. Let's get the payouts right. Let's get the rules right. Let's get the right people involved. That's a huge part of it as well. People always think that getting sponsors involved in these races is about money. It's not just about money. I would rather have a sponsor give me half the money that the big corporate company will give me, but be involved, be calling racers and telling them to come to the race, and be supporting the people that are at the races and making sure, helping in any way they can, giving rule input, whatever it is. I would rather that sponsor 10 times over a huge corporation who will give you some money and have no involvement. They're just, they just want their name on it.
Yeah. Like I work with a lot of people who do this stuff, and I've obviously had done it in the past too. And then I know there's a bunch of people who, watch you and watch others do it. And when you say things like, oh, like I researched and watched some videos, like, and then I watch other people do it and they're like, I'm like, hey, so what did you do? And they're like, well, I watched an hour of video and then I called one company. Like, can you give us the complicated version of what research actually looks like and how many people you end up reaching out?
Yeah, I mean, it's really not easy because I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Are the dates conflicting? Is the date going to be conflicting? What's going on around this time? Is it too close to another race? There's that. Sometimes there's politics in these classes of rules, and you have to have your ear to the ground. You can't just roll into a pro mod race, and there was a pro mod race 3 weeks ago, and you have no idea that a rule change is necessary. You can't do that. If like somebody went 6 numbers faster than everyone else 3 weeks before, and you just have no clue. You're just, oh yeah, these guys are showing up in 3 weeks. They will not show up. You have to be involved, and you have to listen to people. You have to show that you're actually truly vested and interested in the outcome of the event. Everyone that goes to that race wants to feel like they have a chance of winning. If you feel like you have no chance of winning, that's going to get really old really fast. So it's that, calling people, watching videos, forums, Facebooks, just, paying attention to every single detail that you can. Again, the drivers, the sponsors, the tuners, the companies that are, the bigger companies that are providing engines or providing whatever the popular power adder is at that time. You have to be ear to the ground on all of it. And rules is a huge part of it too. Again, like people want to feel like they have a chance of winning. I know myself, I'm not going to pack my stuff up and drive 10, 12, 15 hours, which some of these people travel even further than that, if I don't think I have a chance of winning. You have to promote correctly. You have to figure out what is it that catches the eye of this class or, these people. Like, so if it's pro mod, what's going to move the needle for pro mod? If it's sport front wheel drive, we have some of the biggest sport front wheel drive turnouts at our races. Polar opposite. What moves the needle for these people? What type of track prep do they like? What companies are involved in that race? What is the big turbo manufacturer? All of these things. It's a lot. And again, I guess in my opinion, I've always said I feel like I have an unfair advantage because I am so involved in it and because I do enjoy it so much. But truly, you can't be in this industry in the capacity that I am as a promoter / track owner and not genuinely be interested and enjoy it and care about the people in the sport and the sport itself.
Yeah, and I think it's worth repeating and saying it. The amount of work that it takes, you have to love it. I'll just throw out a prompt and then you answer it however you want to, and we could even skip it. But who are some of your advisors, and what's just like Victor Alvarez's advice on having advisors?
Yeah, obviously, like anything else, surrounding yourself with the right people is definitely key. Um, I'll always say that the best advisor I've had in the drag racing business will probably be Alan Shervitz, the guy that I bought the track from. He's become like family to me, and he really cared about the facility and the future of the facility, and I was handpicked, like legitimately handpicked to take his spot, and he made sure that I was set up for success, which a lot of people don't care about when they sell something, and he offered, his ear every time I needed it, and to this day, I had lunch with him last week. Anytime that he can give input, any input he can give, any just whatever it may be, he helps, and he listens even when I have crazy ideas that he doesn't necessarily agree with. Um, and we have great conversations. He'll tell me if he thinks I'm wrong. We'll talk through things and we'll improve upon them without even knowing. He's been great. Wes Buck, good friend of mine now, and another person that just really cares about drag racing. And a friend of mine that I can call and say, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this, or I'm thinking about doing that, or I'd like to do this, or I'd like to do that, and get the feedback and get the words of encouragement, or get told the truth, like, hey man, that's not a great idea at this time, whatever it may be. And then I'm very fortunate, I don't want to miss anyone, but we have a lot of really good sponsors that are truly passionate and into our sport. Doug Cook from Motion Raceworks. Doug will always on social media get on people about, buy parts from people that are at the racetrack and people that race and people that care. And that man practices what he preaches in the sense that he's not a sponsor that cuts you a check and you don't hear from him. He is a sponsor that calls you and says, hey man, what can we do? Motion Raceworks, Rife Sensors, TBM Brakes, what can we do to help with this event? What can we do to move the needle? What can we do? Can we bring, do you need me to call racers? Do you need me to call other people to sponsor? Like, what can we possibly do to pack this place? Because they understand that when the track is full on Saturday and Sunday and people are racing on Saturday and Sunday, that their phones are going to ring more on Monday. Right. They understand the importance of that. Mark Mickey, M&M Transmissions, one of the first people that I called when I was like, man, I got to fix this Pro Mod deal. And he gave me his support. He told me, if you need anything, let me know. And to this day, I call him. I have a question. He helps. He gives his input. Always in favor of the racers. Always looking out for the racers. Always improving, or trying to, do more for us. One of the few sponsors that will call you at the end of the year, like, hey man, next year we want to do more. We need to do more. We need to do this. We need to do that, because we saw the impact of what you've done. We see that, okay, now it went from an off season of, we might go to the Snowbirds, we might go to US Street, to there is no off season. PDRA, NHRA, all those things end, and it's Snowbirds, US Street Nationals, World Series of Pro Mod. People are gearing up. They're buying extra parts. They're buying spares. They're buying an extra engine, an extra transmission. So having sponsors like that truly understand the impact of what we do and understand that it's, we both keep the wheels in motion for both sides, they keep us in business and we help keep them in business. Working with like-minded people like that is the absolute best thing that you can do. we have tons of great sponsors and companies that we work with, and I'm not sure that we would have been able to have the impact that we've had in 6 years that I've been here without that.
Yeah. Well, I have one last question. I promise you, at some point, we're going to get to the beginning of the story.
No, you're good.
Or maybe we're joking that this really needs like 16 episodes, and we'll probably just do a whole season, the Victor Alvarez season. But just another prompt. You said the word crazy ideas. So, and I know a bunch of people in this industry. We're all visionary and visionary leaders. So, just what's some advice that you have to people listening to the show about creating crazy ideas, and then what to do with it once you have it?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to do when you have an idea about something that you're passionate about, the best thing that you can do is, and this may sound crazy, is keep it to yourself. And the reason I say that is not because you don't to worry about anyone or anything, but let that idea marinate in your head for as long as you possibly can, and work through all the details. And every time you think that this is unachievable, start over again and figure out, how can I make this work? And if you do that enough, that crazy idea will become a reality. You will get to a point where you will figure it out. Like, okay, wait, maybe I can do this, and just never give up and keep it to yourself until you've worked out all those details and you're ready to do it. I see so often people prematurely post about an idea or an event or a product or whatever it may be, and then you never hear anything about it again. And you almost get discouraged when you put something out there and then you feel like you didn't deliver on it, or you get embarrassed, kind of. Like, I have so many ideas, and I've been very fortunate that, like, my vision board for Bradenton Motorsports Park, I've accomplished almost everything that I wanted to in 6 years.
Mhm.
But I still have things that I'm thinking about, still have things that I want to do, and I'm working on them. And I've just been fortunate to convince myself to make some of these things happen. Like, I thought it would have been crazy to approach West Buck and say, "Hey, let's do an event." Um, I thought it was crazy the first time I said I wanted to pay $50,000 to win at the Snowbirds. I thought it was crazy when I said I wanted to pay $20,000 to win Sport Front Wheel Drive at FL2K. We had the first time we did a Sport Front Wheel Drive event or class at FL2K, we had 8 cars, and then we've had FL2Ks where we sell out 40 spots and we have people on a waiting list. So it's all about just obviously not giving up and pushing and getting the right people involved. Again, that's a huge thing. Getting the right sponsors involved, the right racers involved, the right tech people involved, make sure the rules are good. Like, it's a never-ending process, and you have to, like, always be real with yourself and, hey, I need to adjust this or I need to do that, and always do what is best for the event, in the sense of the racers, the fans, the sponsors. Always put everyone first. If you're in this business, put everyone ahead of you, everyone before you, and give them everything you got, and they will deliver. People that enjoy drag racing and that are passionate about drag racing, they will show up and they will deliver. They will support you. They will lift you up, and they will push you, and they will tell everybody under the sun that you put them first, and that you treated them, like a person, that, you treated them with respect, and you treated them as a competitor that you wanted to see have a fair opportunity. Just treat these people the way that you would want to be treated, and you continue to do that and continue to push, and it will work.
Right. But it's 2024, and there's all these people on the internet trying to tell people how to fake it and how to do it quicker or whatever. Like, what do you have to say to that?
Nah, I mean, you can't fake any of this stuff. I think drag racers sniff out bullshit faster than any other group of people in the world. No, and it's true. I mean,
I agree.
I see fly-by-night promoters. They come up and they say they're going to do this and they say they're going to do that, and it's outlandish or whatever. It doesn't happen, and you never hear from them again. And once you don't have credibility, you're done. So you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to do what you advertise you're going to do. Huge thing. Like, man, I remember when I first started doing this, I started to see the deceptive marketing with payouts, and I was like, these dudes are playing games with paying the racers. Like, hold on a second. So if I go to the movie theater and I watch a movie, the actors are the main attraction. They're, whatever. So you go to a show, whatever you're into, whatever. There's always a main event, and there's always a highlight of that main event, whether it's actors, comedians, whatever. When you go to a drag race, the people in the stands aren't there to see me. They're not there to see you. They're not there to see Wes Buck. They are there to see the drag racers. Treat them correctly. So like I started seeing deceptive marketing with payouts, and I started preaching guaranteed payouts. Like that was one of the first things I did. And I was brutally honest about it. Whether the payout was low or high, I guaranteed it. And I called out anyone that I saw that didn't. You would see people put guaranteed payout and then below it, fine print, 16 car minimum. So what's guaranteed? It's guaranteed that you're going to pay if 16 cars show up. That's not guaranteed. So it's things like that. Just do the right thing and invest. You have to give a little bit. It's like anything else. And in drag racing, you give us a little bit and we will give you back 10 times more than you gave us.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and now go back to the beginning. Like where does the Victor Alvarez story begin?
Whew, how much time we got? No, I mean, I can do a shorter version of it.
We got time. Go for it.
Okay, so as a kid, my dad and my uncle had general repair shop, just general automotive stuff. I absolutely thought that cars were the coolest thing on earth. Anytime that I didn't have to be at home or be in elementary school or daycare, whatever it may be, if I could be at that shop with my dad and my uncle, that's where I was going to be. Probably when I was like 8 years old, maybe, my dad bought a Toyota Supra. He started tinkering with that, him and my uncle, and he started street racing that a little bit, and he started doing well. And naturally, we started working on Supras. So now you got a young kid who's just obsessed with cars. My dad and my uncle are, all I look up to, and all I'm around 24/7. They're working on Supras, so I obviously took to that.
Actually, just cutting you off really quickly. And so you're a Florida native?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I was about
I'm
to
actually born and raised in New York. The street racing scene there is much better.
I'm a Jersey dude.
Jersey, okay, yep. So born and raised in New York. My dad had a shop in Valley Stream, which is like the border of Queens and Long Island. So they started working on Supras. I got really, really, really into it. I mean, I would be in school, like middle school, using the computers when we could to like research parts and tuning and you name it. And I knew you could say you had a T66 turbo in 2002, and I could tell you the inducer of the compressor wheel, the exducer of the compressor wheel, what turbine housings were available. Like I was a nerd about all of it. And that was all I could be at that time, right? Like I couldn't be more involved than that. And it grew from there. I started selling parts, helping my dad with that. I started working on the cars as much as they would let me. And then in 2005, when we moved to Florida, I was a little bit older. I started tinkering with my dad's Supra and taking it to the track. So one of the benefits of moving to Florida was I got my learner's permit as soon as I got here. Where in New York, I don't think you can start driving till you're like 17.
Right.
I think Florida it's like 15. So I moved here.
Even once you get a learner's permit in New York, you can't really drive. It's like this far and then stop.
Yeah. So first order of business when I got here, I got my learner's permit. I would go to Bradenton Motorsports Park with my dad's. I would take my dad's car and go, and it was the coolest thing in the world. Like I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. So I would go to school. I would leave school. I would go to my dad's shop, and I would mess with cars. And the more I got into it, the more I liked it, the more I enjoyed it. And then the competitiveness of it, I really enjoyed. I've always been a competitive person.
Where'd you get that from? New York? Your parents?
I think New York and the New York street racing scene can make anybody a competitive person.
Or you die.
When you're 14 and you're watching your dad and like his best friends literally have heated arguments and then race, and then afterwards everybody's cool again. We're all good. But we have to know whose car is faster. We have to settle that score. Seeing that kind of competitiveness and camaraderie, like in the exact same moments almost, I think that just makes you want to be competitive, because it shows you a side of it where you can be competitive and still have fun and still be friends with people. Which that's literally that's the drag racing community in a
Right.
nutshell. So I love that. 2011 was working on Supras nonstop at my dad's shop, kind of like a side thing. I would help him during the day, and then at night I would work on customers' cars that were Supras, that were people that I would meet at the street races in Florida, or people I'd meet at the track in Florida that asked help me with my car or work on my car, and that turned into opening a shop. We bought a dyno. We started selling parts. We did a website, and it's all a blur. Like when it's silly, but when you really enjoy this stuff and are really passionate about this stuff, it happens really fast. And I think drag racing and the car community and the industry, what's really cool about it is everybody it's so many people feel like they can jump in and be successful, and that is the case. There are a lot of people that jump in and like they're passionate about it and they're smart and they learn, and there's a lot of opportunity, especially if you work on the cars yourself, or let's say you want to learn tuning, you want to learn fabrication, you want to learn wiring, you want to learn engine building. There's so many different ways to get into the car scene, into the aftermarket of cars, that it's very welcoming. Um, and I just kept going and going and going and doing the things that I liked and doing the things that I enjoyed and learning as much as I could and being surrounded by good people and talking to people and just observing as much as I could. And every part about it, every stone I turned, I enjoyed what I found. Um, and I think what I was really good at was promoting in a way, and I didn't know it, but promoting myself at that time. I was good at sales, and then I was just passionate about the end result. I wanted whatever my involvement was. If I was selling you an engine, if I was selling you parts, or if I was building the car myself, I wanted that car to run as good as it possibly could and run the best number that it could run. Like, hey man, this setup should do a 990 in the quarter mile. Then I wanted to make sure it did it. And just being like that and being, again, a car guy and just being competitive and being passionate about it. It just kept opening doors and kept opening up opportunities. And as a young, I mean, at the time, a young kid coming up in this sport, I was a bit of a dreamer. And I guess I got lucky that my dreams were able to be turned into reality with a little bit of hard work.
Probably a lot of hard work, and maybe also a lot of luck, but also a lot of hard work.
No, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, nothing good, it doesn't, anything good requires hard work. Anything you really want to do, anything you're passionate about, anything you want to be successful in requires hard work. Definitely don't want to, mistake that. But for me, it just never felt like hard work. It just felt like this is what needs to be done for this. And, you know, whenever you're into something or you want to be successful at something, you set a goal in your head. And for me, the goals, every single one of them were things that I was passionate about or things I found to be extremely cool. So when the goal was to learn how to build engines, or the plan was to learn how to build engines, but the goal was to be different, to learn that this engine likes this and likes that and perfect it. And when the plan was to, hey, let's try to do events, it wasn't just to do events. The goal was to do the best street car event that we could possibly do in Florida. And I feel like we've achieved that. And now it's a national event. People come from all over the place just to come to it. So there's always a plan, and then there's always a goal. And I just got lucky that the goal was always something I really, really wanted, and I would work my ass off for it.
Yeah. Well, and talk. I'm glad you said that, the goal and the plan, because a lot of people get. I get a lot of people. They come with me with these, giant goals, and then there's no plans.
Yeah, no plan at all. Yeah.
Or opposite, right? Like people with a whole lot of planning and a whole bunch of to do things, but no one actually knows what the end result is. And
Yeah.
Can you already did, but can you just, like, from an advice standpoint, like, planning and goals and plans?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's very important. I think it comes down to accountability. I won't lie to myself and tell myself that I can do something and then not do it. And I won't tell myself that something is possible if, for whatever reason at that moment, it may not be, or it needs to be put on hold. So timing is important. Holding yourself accountable is important, and keeping your eye on that prize. I mean, again, it sounds corny, but keep your eye on that prize. If what you ultimately want to do is promote events, then come up with a plan and keep your eye on the plan or on the prize that I want to promote events. And it ain't going to be easy, especially today. Like, you know, as time goes on, these things become more and more difficult to achieve because there's more competition, there's more challenges, whatever. We have more tools than we had in 2013 when I started my event. Like Facebook and social media wasn't that big of a thing. We would print flyers, we would go to other events, we'd go to local car shows, I would drive from shop to shop to shop, sometimes talk to competitors that I didn't even like, truthfully.
Right.
But I would go because that was necessary. That was what it took. That's what I had to do. But my eye was always on the prize. I'm going to talk to these people that I don't like, not like I don't like them personally, but like somebody that I want to see them show up so I could race them and beat them. You know what I mean? I don't want them to come and hang out with them. I want this person to show up so I could race them and I could beat them. And there's a friendly rivalry, and I'll go to their shop and I'll talk to them and I'll hand them a flyer and I'll swallow my pride and be like, hey man, you mind giving some of your customers these flyers? Whatever it took, but it didn't matter because I was so passionate about